Hi everyone, welcome to this online event organized by the International Institute of Project Theology and Conscientioology. My name is Beatriz. I am an instructor, researcher, and volunteer of the institution since 2002, and we are here with you today to talk about inner peace. From the perspective, from the point of view of project theology. What is this? It is a neoscience that studies parapsychic phenomena such as the out of body experience, near death experience, past lives, and all the phenomena that happen beyond the material dimension, in the extra physical dimensions, and all this with a scientific approach always based on logics and rationality. And there is a principle, the principle of disbelief, that says, don't believe in anything, not even in what you are told here at the institution, at this event. Experiment. Have your own personal experiences, because this is the way to find out if what we are saying here makes sense, if it's logical for you, right? The important thing is that it makes sense for you. Okay, and today we receive a very special guest, Mr. Djalma Fonseca, our guest. He is an entrepreneur, a conscientiometrist since 2009, a Conscius and UNICIN volunteer and researcher, a conscientiology instructor, and a penta practitioner since 1989. Welcome, Djalma.
Hi, good evening, Bia. It's a pleasure to be with you here and discuss such an interesting subject, right?
Right, it's a pleasure for us to have you here. And also Miss Simone Sandy, who is also an instructor, a researcher, and volunteer of the institution. Hello, Simone.
Hi, Beatriz. Hello, Djalma. I'm so happy to be here in this live debate with you and instructor Djalma. And hello, everyone. I'll be waiting for your questions to be forwarded here for the debate.
That's right. Simone is going to bring us your questions. So it's very important that you write your questions in the comment section, and also write telling us where you're watching us from, right? We want to know your city, your country, where you are watching from, and write your questions. Also, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, and click the bell to receive the notifications from the following videos and events that we have here, right? So let's begin with our topic for today. And before we start with the topic, Djalma, can you tell us how you found out about project theology and conscientiology?
Well, that was a long time ago in 1988. At that time, there wasn't even conscientiology yet. Professor Waldo went to the university I used to be. I just graduated on the end of 1987, and May 1988, he went there to give a lecture on the topic projectiology, and it was really interesting because he had two books that he put in the library there and made a lot of questions, and I right away recognized that Waldo from other experiences, parapsychic experiences, even projections that I had with him before, and the leading edge truth was verpon, that we say in the acronym in Portuguese acronym verpon. That's the leading edge truth, was the thing that actually brought to my mind that this is the way that I need to study whatever is happening with me as far as psychic phenomena is concerned. So I had some psychic phenomena. I had the near-death experience like 4 years before, and then I understood that I needed to research about it on that path, and ever since I'm here, right? So that's
Right.
why a lot of white, I'm an old guy.
So, would you say that the previous experiences, the parapsychic experiences that you had before, kind of awoke your interest for these
Yes,
sciences?
yes. The thing is, at that point, we didn't have a lot of ways of studying it. Either it would be religiously, or on a mystical way, or if you wanted to study scientifically at that time, there was no possibility. It would be seen as some depersonalization or whatever, So it was hard to actually study it in a more balanced way, or with not a lot of you know uh, other situations that you know it doesn't help you understand more about it, right?
Mhm.
When you add mystical things, you kind of exaggerate things instead of going deeply into that. I needed that. I wanted to understand better the psychic phenomena that I used to have ever since I was a child. But all the religious way wasn't enough for me at that time. So when I found out Professor Waldo was really, really, really interesting, right? I found my
Yeah.
people finally. Let's say,
Yes, we feel that we find our group, right?
right.
Because yeah, it's very similar for most of us who are working with these ideas now. That when you have the parapsychic experiences, such as an out of body experience, there's nothing mystical about it. It's all very natural. It's you see what's there. Even you meet some people, and it feels very
Exactly.
natural. So when you find a group of people that study this with that approach, it's like liberating, right?
Very liberating. It's very liberating. It
Mhm.
was very important for me at the time.
And Djalma, what are you currently studying or working on with your volunteering nowadays?
Well, I studied conscientiometry for a long time. I like very much the conscientiogram and the analysis of attributes and the process of evolution as far as attributes are concerned, and the evolutionary scale together with that. So this is the uh, mainstream of my self research, right? But my specialty, the thing that I have more experience or past lives experiences, is to be pioneering. I usually, ever since 1988, when I got in the institute was just starting, because it was May. Institute was founded in January, so we were one of the first teachers in the institute. So we were pioneering very much this in the south of the country. Then afterwards with Aracê, SIAC. So I'm always pioneering things. So this is one of the specialties, and it's very important to understand what help happens with you in an inner way, right? Together with the kind of work that you need to do outside. So it balances you. You know, this is how I got here from the last 30 years of research on conscientiology.
Right. This topic of pioneering and entrepreneurship, it's very interesting and it could be for another talk
Yes,
because it, yes.
yes,
And there was something that you mentioned that you had a near-death experience, and this is very interesting. But I'm not going to ask a lot about that because you've already been with us in Spanish talking about that.
yes,
And if you haven't in English, we will soon organize something and do some special event to talk about that because it's really
okay,
interesting. But today we are here to talk about inner peace, right? So to
yes.
begin with the topic, from the perspective of projectiology, what is inner peace?
Well, inner peace is the absence of conflict, right? Is self integrity as far as your attributes and especially your principles and values. We have values. What are values? Values are what drives us in life. It's more than motivation, it's what it is behind the motivation, right? Things that we value, they make out for our priorities. So if our values are very much in tune with our principles, that principles are what we want to do or what we would like to be or where we would like to go, right? Values have more to do with the past and the current situation as far as our temperament. So if principles and values are very much in tune, you have no conflict. But if your principles are not in tune with your values, for instance, you don't like your ways of being, or you don't like the way you respond to things, or you don't like things in your temperament, you don't like some of your traits, strong traits or weak traits. You might not like that. This shows a little conflict. The absence of conflict is peace. If there is conflict, there is no peace.
Okay, so we have the definition of inner peace. And now we have some questions, Simone, from the audience.
Yes, is regarding what Djalma is talking about. Paulo is asking, let's put here, how do our inner conflicts affect our interactions with others?
That's a very good question, Paulo, because we're like dogs. You know, dogs, they smell things, right? We smell things from each other. So and this smell has to do with energy. This is what we study in projectiology that has to do with the energy, right? Because our thought scene, what is this? Thought, sentiment, energy. If I have conflict somewhere, my thoughtings will show that in some way. And I will, in some way, produce conflicts outside myself. So if I have a lot of conflict or a lot of people that has conflict, they come to me or I attract a lot of conflict, it's because I have conflict myself. So daily, in a daily basis, I will see if I tend to have conflict with other people, even if I don't do anything. People say, but I'm a victim of conflict because everybody comes to me and start fighting with me and everything. But we are not victims. This is our conflict that attracts it. So it's true. It's true. It affects our relationships, close relationships, or even at work, or on a daily basis. You can start studying it, or start studying it and see if you change a little bit your inner conflict and see what happens outside. That's a good challenge for you.
Djalma, this is a question from myself. It
Okay.
seems that having contact with nature, tree, parks, green spaces, contribute to the mental peace. Can you
Yes.
explain what is the role of immanent energies in this context?
Well, the thing is, immanent energy, immanent energy has less information, right? And once once someone asked me, I think it was Beatriz yesterday. She asked me, "What is um, what is the inner peace of a Serenissimus?" Right? And Serenissimus, or Homo sapiens Serenissimus, is a level where the manifestation of their energy is very close to immanent energy, has almost no entropy, has almost no uh, disturbance over the energy. So, immanent energy has less disturbance. If I get a lot of immanent energy, I diminish, at least for some time, my own disturbance from outside in. Of course, if the conflict continues, I'm gonna, at some point, I'm gonna have conflict again. But uh, the, the factor of having this outside immanent energy will help me at least notice when I have conflict, when my energy is entropic, or when is there is disturbance on my aura, on my holosphere. Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of calms us because there is this mental noise or this constant mental dialogue that is making us suffer because we are anxious and we are constantly thinking about things. And this is very stressing. So
Yes.
it's important to achieve a state of harmony and well-being, and being
Yes.
like a mental silence that you were talking about to
Yes.
the Djalma, right?
Yes. It's important to be able to silence your mind when you want. If you cannot do this, it's because there is a constant conflict. You know.
Good. We have another question from Paulo. He's asking you, Djalma, what to suggest to overcome that moment that you are feeling very angry?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I usually, what I do when something is like this, I tend to come to myself. I whenever there is disturbance, either mine or from other people, and I come to my, it's like looking for my nature, looking back for my nature. Where am I? I'm not this. I'm not like this. So I try to come back to me, you know. One of the things that is important when I say the relationship that you have with yourself is very important. If you reflect, if you have metathosine, what is this? If you analyze yourself,
Mhm.
right? This is the relationship that we have with ourselves. You just don't live life. You live, but you have a good relationship with yourself, a good relationship with your manifestations. You observe yourself. You relate to yourself. This is very important. And in a situation like this, it's like, okay, let's come back to my, balance again. What's my balance? Where is my balance? You can use vibrational state. It's one of the things that you might use. But before the vibrational state is this thought scene. So what am I thinking? Why is it so important to be angry right now? Why is it that I think it's justifiable to get angry with that? Sometimes we think that it's justifiable to get angry. So if we think this, we are going to get angry many times.
Exactly, because we tend to think that there's nothing we can do about it. It's like emotions happen and we cannot deal with them, but we can, right? We have to
Right.
ask ourselves why. Why am I so angry? What's happening?
Exactly. And one of the good things about it is that you cannot be angry because you're angry. What? Because then it escalates, right?
Mhm.
You just accept the fact that you're angry. Start by that. Okay, I'm angry. All right. And this tends to diminish.
Yeah, this is very important because we usually want to change quickly and we think that, okay, I understood this, now I have changed. But we don't let ourselves go through the process of changing that it takes some
Yes,
time. Right?
yes, yes,
We have
Now we have a
another
exactly.
question.
question.
Yes, we do have from Tiago. What can we do when we see anticosmoetical situations? How can we manifest and still be a peaceful state of mind?
That's a very good question. It's hard, Tiago, to do this because when we face a situation that is very anti-cosmoetical and we tend to lose our balance, is because there is something there in that situation that we recognize we have, right? And we don't like what we see. For instance, people smoke and then they stop smoking. Right after they stop smoking, they become smoker intruder, right? Oh, you're
Mhm.
smoking. Ah, can't you see that you're doing this and that? Because you just stopped smoking. And you still are fighting with yourself not to smoke. And there is a conflict there, right? The conflict with the smoking situation. And you don't like to be a smoker. You're fighting with that. And the same thing, when we find an anti-cosmoetical situation and we find it too bad and we react too much upon it, is because we used to be smoker. We used to be anti-cosmoetical as the situation we're seeing. And that memory triggers that feeling that we're having. What we need to do, we need to first accept that probably I have that too, or I had that too. And then you start um, realizing things that about ourselves. And then you start with affection to how can I say, embrace yourself on that situation. First yourself. And then you're going to say, but I need sometimes to defend some things. Yes, you need to defend. And you're going to defend. But before that, you need to accept your reality towards that situation. I'm going to give you an example of that. For instance, when you see there was something that really was bad for me, when I saw someone being cowardly, for instance, with spanking a kid, or someone that is much less strong, right? And then doing something that's very, this usually would make me really be angry right away. I would turn, my subcerebral response to that was very strong. And I started studying that. And I said, probably I have misused my strength many times. And looking at this situation reminds me of that. I probably was strong. Many lives I was strong. And fighting with others that were not as strong as I was, I misused this strength. So this memory became strong, is what we call a syndrome of, it's a syndrome of perpetrator, perpetrator syndrome. In Portuguese would be algoz, but perpetrator syndrome. This makes you remember things that you've done with other people. And that is usually the kind of angriness that we have towards things and situations.
We usually identify with the victim and we want to defend the victim, and we feel antagonism towards the aggressor, right?
Exactly. But the antagonism with the aggressor has to do with our memory of aggressor. It's something that usually people don't go there. And then when you understand that you have probably been the aggressor, you accept that possibility, right? You start to understand that better. Then you don't need to be aggressive with the aggressor anymore. That's yourself. When you stop being aggressive with yourself, then you're able not to become angry with the situation.
Yeah, it all comes down to an inner conflict, actually. It's because we reject a part of ourselves that we project on the others. So,
Exactly.
and this is like the root of all violence that there is outside, right?
Exactly. That's the root of all violence. And what I'm saying, you can be aggressive and non-violent. You can. If you understand profoundly that, you accept that unconditionally with affection, you'll be able to be aggressive without being violent. You know?
Yeah,
This is very interesting.
yeah, and we need a lot of reflection to even understand that from a theoretical point of view, and then to transform that into
Into
our
practice,
behavior,
yes,
right?
into our behavior, exactly.
Simone, we have some contributions.
Yes, now it's from Liliana. She's asking, considering that peace is not the absence of war, what can you say about inner peace and belicism?
Very interesting. what I can tell you is that war is already when the conflict is established. Oh, the situation of conflict is established, right? But you might be inside the situation of conflict established with inner peace. This is possible if you accept well your situation, your relationship with that. You don't have any intolerance with that. Look, even to violence, you cannot be intolerant. If you're intolerant to something, then there is a conflict. So, what you're saying, Djalma, is that probably we're not going to be able to stop all the conflict outside ourselves. Yes, what I'm saying is that exactly that. And the conflict seen outside is just a mirror from the conflict that we have inside. So we need to understand, why am I witnessing this? Why am I in this planet? Why am I attracting this? And then start seeing where there is intolerance, less intolerance, less intolerance, more affection, unconditional. This is the trade. And then you're gonna have peace. You're gonna have peace. If you have peace, this thing, like conflict, also is contagious. And then we start, helping to have peace in other places. So it's important to be, if you have a lot of inner peace, you should be close to a lot of people that don't have inner peace, right? That if we have more to give, we need to give, right? This is the point. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what happens to me is that I don't usually attract a lot of conflict. Usually it happens the other way around. But I see a lot of conflict every day on the television. I see a lot of conflict in the internet. I see a lot of those things all the time. They continue coming, and they test constantly my inner peace to see if I'm becoming intolerant with some behavior, for instance. This is the way. This is the idea. So when we think that we should finish or end war, if we still have some intolerance inside ourselves, that means we need that. Think a little bit and you will understand. How am I going to get rid of intolerance if I'm on a planet of Serenissimo? Only Serenissimo. I'm not going to be able to get rid of that. Even though it's a lot of positive example, I don't have anything that any input that's going to test, that's going to to help me work on my intolerance. That's the way I think. So those opportunities I see as good things. I don't see that as bad things. Those are not things that I avoid. Okay?
We can take a chance as a laboratory, right?
That's the laboratory. Yes, exactly. That's the consciential lab. Exactly.
We have another question here from Paulo. is asking, is it important to work on building this culture of peace, even this competitive contest present in the world today?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very important to this by example. Sometimes we have to discuss this, like we are doing now, but it's more important the example. It's more important to work towards that, as we were discussing now, Paulo. Is more important to discover our
There's some
we
technical
feel a lot of
problems. Oh,
realization when we do
Stop.
this, and also people start to give you some feedback sometimes also. Well, you're always on a good mood. Why is that? Why is that you're always on a good mood? This, and then I say, well, it's not something that happened. You know, people think that emotions are things that we just have. No, we need to prioritize things. We need to work on our values.
yeah, it is a construction, right? Well, it seems that there are some technical problems, but we can comment in the meantime while Mr. Djalma comes back, right, Simone?
Yes.
Um, this is very important, the exemplarism that we were talking about, right? That you are in a context where you are surrounded by conflict, but through your inner peace that you have achieved, or the percentage of inner peace that you have, you can help improve the environment, right?
Exactly, exactly. Or even with my intolerance too. Listen, listen. We help with inner peace, or we help with intolerance too. How come? Well, everybody needs to train that. So my weak traits, they are just as important as my strong traits on that situation. And my weak traits will be will be something that will make other people work with that, unfortunately or fortunately, and will make me closer to the ones that actually need to be helped. I will attract those people. This is also very important. So
Yes.
weak traits and strong traits are important.
Yeah, both, right?
Yes.
Okay. And um, there is we have some situations in which we can be more peaceful than others, right? Because we evolve, and
Yes.
little by little we can get better at some points and still have others to work with. So in some situations maybe okay, we are very peaceful and we can help others in that area, right?
Exactly. And those more difficult ones are not the ones that we should avoid, on my way of seeing. Of course, don't get a lot of doses of those either, but it's important to little by little, you know, to start going into those that are a challenge, or a bigger challenge,
Yeah.
you know.
So we have to face the challenges because that's the way we get better.
That's the is to face the challenges, and also realize that, well, I'm not there yet, and yes, in that case I still have conflicts, and that's okay. And we need to work little by little to accept the situation, to accept what we're, you know, the level that we are at that point. This is already a good thing, when we discover things about ourselves. It's very important. Sometimes more important than getting rid of things.
Mhm.
That's something we can use. When we discover that we have some weak trait, we can take advantage of that towards our evolution and other people's, even without changing it yet. Okay, Simone, you have something for us?
Yes, I do. So Tiago is saying there are some situations caused by love that are all but peaceful, like jealousy, soccer, game fans, religion-based wars, etc. So he makes his question now. Strange, how in the same name of some kind of love, it only moves the person or communities away from its inner peace. Can you comment on this, please?
Perfect. Very good. That's one of the things that I say. Sometimes strong traits, I'm not talking about this yet, even strong traits can take you off your balance. Even too much energy, too much enthusiasm. But one of the things that usually reduces our discernment is passion. As you were mentioning, what's behind this kind of love is passion. And when we are very passionate about something, we tend to diminish our discernment. And when we diminish our discernment, we tend to make more mistakes. We tend to make more errors. And sometimes we become intolerant and we don't notice. So we cannot see ourselves as well when we are on that too enthusiastic, too passionate. Passion can be good up to a point. Everything has a limit. Passion could be good up to which point? To the point that you can be critical with yourself. If you lose sense of criticism, then you you overdone it already. So it's very common out of love for your son, for your wife, for your father, even out of love, as you're saying, or for your soccer team, you can lose your discernment. And this is the balance I was talking about. You lose balance because it's too much. Everything has a doses, even enthusiasm, right? Motivation is different from enthusiasm. Too much enthusiasm on something might get you, problem. So everything has a doses.
It limits our capacity for logical thinking and objectivity, right? Which are some of our most important traits that we have, the
Attribute.
most precious things that make us evolve.
Exactly.
We have one more question for Margaret Belli. Can you say something about the relation about inner peace and parapsychism?
Yes, I can. That's a very good question. Um, my point of view of parapsychism now is is one of the most important attributes after discernment that I was talking about and lucidity. Parapsychism is one of the most important attributes. Why is it? Because it's the only way to access my real identity. Um, your parabrain, your inner self. We are conscious right now, right? Intraphysical consciousness, which is constant, right? But this is a state. Actually, I'm a conscience, which is as an extra physical consciousness that momentarily is with a brain. And this parapsychism is what can link me back to my conscious reality. I need to recover my way of thinking as a conscience, and that's only possible through the attribute of parapsychism. So, parapsychism is very important for inner peace because inner peace has to do with my reality, with our origin, with our state of consciousness as a conscience. I don't know if it's clear for you, but when we are between lives is where we get the most out of our state of mind, the most lucidity, the most discernment. The best of ourselves is between lives, right? So I need to assess this state. We need to access that. So to access that, we need parapsychism. And as much as I access that, more inner peace. You know?
Yeah, like
so
our true identity,
with
right?
that.
We access our
True identity.
It's like we come from there and then we are going to return there, not the other way around, right? So it's very interesting when you can see it that way.
Exactly. That's
And
the thing.
Djalma, I'd
So
like to ask you.
So this is the way we do it. Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, about because we have like 4 minutes to go, about intraconsciential recycling. What is it and how can the conscientiogram help us as a tool to do this, to reprogram ourselves, right?
Right. The thing is, to get to this point, we need to recycle. But recycle what? Usually values, especially anachronic values. Those values, right, are what drives us today. Okay? Okay. When I was a conscience and we planned the current life, we used a group of values. I need to recover those values. To recover those values, I will need to recycle some of my current values. And to do that, the conscientiogram is a very good tool. Why? Because there are questions, 2,000 questions that conscience that plan your life will make to the current conscience. So you conscience, you before coming here will ask yourself how you are doing on the current life. How is it that you are doing on each one of those 2,000? And it's more than 2,000 because each question sometimes had 3 or 4 questions. So it's like 6,000, 8,000 little parts, right? And then you're gonna have a snapshot of your evolution in your current life at that moment, at that context. So this is how the conscientiogram will help you understand what are the traits, what are the values, what are the elements that are driving your life right now. And then you can start from there to, let's say, develop more your inner peace.
And there is a course of Conscious that is the conscientiogram without drama, that you are one of the instructors of that course, even with groups in English, right?
Yes, even in groups in English and Spanish.
Mhm. So we're going to leave the links here in the comments afterwards for you to have access to those opportunities, because it's really, you can take the course online, and during several weeks you will be having the opportunity to debate with instructors and do your own research with this tool. And it's really interesting, because with self knowledge we can achieve inner peace, right? It's a tool for that, right?
Exactly. And Bia has experienced that. Bia has done the course.
Yes, I've taken the course
Very
twice, and
good.
I'm planning to take it once again. It's really
That's
that
very good.
interesting. Well, Djalma, thank you for being here with us today. We are very grateful, and we hope to have you here soon with us again.
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you guys, whenever I can help you and work together with this great team. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye bye.